right, not with a beer review this time, but with Q&A with DJ, as you saw in the title, and my handcrafted artisanal sign. That's right, and why am I doing the questions today? Because my good buddy Joe at Joe's Arcade called me out to do said question list, and this is also at the originator's behest, Tasty Nitch, who kind of got this whole kumbaya sort of community question and answer thing going, which I think is pretty freaking cool. Good on you, Nitch. And maybe it took a lady's touch to get all us beer-swilling dudes together to ask some questions and act like a community again. That's pretty fucking awesome. I like that. So, being DJ, as I am, as you know, I am probably one of the most animated creatures that operates in BrewTube land. And yeah, I am not going to answer the exact questions that Nitch had because that ain't me. I kind of dance to the beat of my own drummer, so I've got a set of questions that have been asked me many times. Yes, I do write stuff like that down. I am that obsessive and geeky, so you know what? Let's have at it with these questions. Some will be kind of close to the same, but you know what? They're going to have a DJ flair to them. Let's get into it. The first question, and one that I get asked probably, at least a couple times a month. Are you on cocaine/meth? And did you do a line of cocaine or meth before you started doing this video because you're so animated and hyper? Are you really like that? So it's kind of a compound question. Yes, I am really like this. If you ever speak to anyone who's met me or who spent time with me, say Stunt Trigger Johnny, UBT, Paul at PA Brew News, shout out to you, Paul, and maybe Eric, shout out to Eric too, at Blackboard Beer Reviews. They've all met me. They will tell you I am actually this animated of a creature. It's just how I am. Maybe back in the day they would have medicated me as a child. They didn't, so this is what you get, hyperactive cuckoo DJ, but hey, it is what it is. So, I guess deal with it. Anywho, second question, do you live in a liquor store? No, I live in a house. But it does maybe appear to be a liquor store, or you may be confused by the gigantic beer shrine and all the booze in the mixed drink videos, booze reviews, all that kind of stuff. But I, in fact, do not live in a liquor store. I live in a home, but maybe living in a liquor store might be cool for like a week or so. Anywho, next up, what is your favorite beer style? My favorite beer style is barrel-aged imperial stouts. I'm into imperial stouts. I love all styles, but my favorite that I really love to explore, especially how they change over time, is imperial stouts. They got lots of layered flavors. I'm a malt maniac deep down in my core. I love hops. I love the way yeast interplays with, like, say, Belgian beers and things of that sort and makes those flavors come to alive. But, man, so many beer flavors and adjunct flavors and barrel and everything come alive in imperial stouts that are barrel-aged. And I really dig reviewing cellar beers, and it just, that's where my core is, man. Barrel-aged imperial stouts. I'm digging that shit. Next up. Are the boxes behind you in the beer shrine filled with unconsumed beer? Yes. That's the answer, yes. They are filled with unconsumed beer because, as I mentioned, I'm big into cellaring, and I like to explore cellar beer, so you got to have a big collection to explore cellar beers. So, yes, all these are cataloged succinctly. They all have catalog page. I know what's all in the boxes. It's not just guessing, what's in this box. No, yes, sometimes beers do get lost because I don't look at the sheets, as I mentioned in my review sometimes, but by the by, these are filled with beer. Okay, there you go. Next up, why aren't you a fat shit yet? That is the question that I've been asked. Maybe that's like the question Nitch had, how do you stay healthy? But they've asked me, why aren't you a fat shit yet? So, the reason I'm not a fat shit yet is probably multifold. One, I never ever drink during the week. Period. Don't drink during the week. I only drink on the weekends, maybe Friday, Saturday. Generally I'm not often at all on Sundays. Friday, Saturday are my fun days, my letting my hair down days, if I had hair, that is. But yes, I don't drink during the week. Also, I don't eat candy. I don't eat cake. I'm not into desserts. I don't drink sodas. I don't eat bread, rice, or pasta. I basically live on veg and protein. That's just me. And fruits. I like fruits too, but not too much because they're laden with sugars. My sugars and my treat and my dessert come from beer or a bourbon or a whiskey, something like that. That's my treat and my fun zone. So there you have it. It's a Spartan life. Also, I exercise pretty much every single day for an hour to 2 hours, except for 1 day a week break when I let my muscles recover. I've always been an exerciser, lifelong exerciser. That's my thing. It keeps my stress down. I got a really stressful job, so I got to fuel myself with good food. I got to have exercise, and for me, I got to have a treat, which is what craft beer and exploring all the lovely flavors that come within craft beer world, and that's just cool. So, next up. What is your favorite macro beer? Well, my favorite macro beer, believe it or not, is Colt 45 malt liquor. Why is that? Because when I was a kid, Colt 45 was brewed right here in Baltimore. And when I would drive to school in the morning from like middle school through high school, I would pass the brewery and I would smell Colt 45 brewing. And I guess like Billy D says, gets it done every time, or yeah, I think that's what it is. Gets it done every time. I think that was a little slogan from the commercial. But you know what? When I'm cutting grass, I crave a Colt 45. I carry like a pounder can, and I actually keep it, believe it or not, in my kegerator fridge. Imagine that, the home of craft beer, the kegerator fridge, when I'm doing homebrew. And yes, I do homebrew. Been homebrewing with UBD forever, ever. But anywho, so next up is a question that's kind of like some of the questions that were asked by Nitch and some of the other folks who have answered her question set. It was kind of like, who do you admire in beer world? I'm going to not go maybe with admire or who you're a fan of, kind of whatever that question was. I'm going to go with people that I really respect in the industry that I think had a foundational and palpable real-time effect on craft beer world today. And there's the three people. 1, Fritz Maytag of Anchor. 2, Jim Koch of Samuel Adams. And 3, Sam Calagione of Dogfish Head. Why these guys? 1, we would not have craft beer, period, point blank. Do not pass go, do not collect $2 in its form today if it was not for Fritz Maytag putting his family inheritance money on the line, buying Anchor Brewery in California, and keeping craft beer and flavorful beer still alive all the way back into the 1970s when it was the deep, deep dark ages of only fizzy piss water world. You know what? He created a movement, and guys like Sierra Nevada and things all learned from Fritz Maytag and what he had to offer, and he inspired so many people to get into it. Yeah, Michael Jackson, he's awesome, and he's a great beer historian and whatever, but the one who had a real hardcore effect on the industry in the United States, at least, has got to be Fritz Maytag. You know what? I remember back in the days when I was in Cali with my family, drinking an Anchor Steam beer and thinking, why the fuck am I drinking fizzy piss water like Natty Boh and shit like that back in good old Baltimore, Maryland? Okay, next, Mr. Cook, Jim Koch. People bitch about Jim because he's a billionaire now, and he's a big craft brewer, and they keep changing the threshold for him to be a craft beer. Well, guess what? What a lot of people forget is he was many brewers today's gateway into craft beer and home brewing and thinking that beer could be of more flavor, because back in the 80s and 90s when he was out there beating the drum, still small, creating new styles which were back then super flavorful beers, which we actually may consider like meh, sort of lightly flavored, kind of not taking risk beers. You know what? He kind of kept that flame burning and got people into doing things that they wouldn't do before. And that's really cool. You can say what you want to say, but you got to have a big guy in the mix because, look, brewing is about being a business, period. If money isn't coming in, beer is not flowing out. That's all there is to it. Ingredients, land, bricks and mortar, equipment, all cost money. It's not free to brew. And you can say what you want to say about Samuel Adams, but they really helped create the craft beer world in the United States. They're a foundational brewer, along with Anchor, that created what we know as the craft beer landscape now and have gotten us to over 5,300 breweries. So, next up, Sam Calagione of Dogfish Head. Yes, I am an admitted Dogfish Head fan because it's one of the fanboy, and that's one of the breweries I've been drinking the absolute longest during my craft beer, drinking career since the early 90s when they started. The reason he is on my list is Sam Calagione and Dogfish Head were the first to really push a lot of hops and like with 60-minute IPA and 90-minute IPA and 120-minute IPA, push those boundaries of what hops in beer could be. And they started a catalyst and got people really riffing off of stuff. Them and like Stone at the same time, simultaneously. But here on the East Coast, it's Dogfish Head that put that forward. And also his use and I guess, kind of addiction to in some ways and really kind of championing of culinary ingredients in beer, i.e. adjuncts, man. From cinnamon, if you're going back to pumpkin ale and pumpkin in beer and all that stuff, and championing adjuncts really created all these new flavors coming back up. I mean, you wouldn't have stuff like Hunapoos, like a Mexican Imperial Stout, if it really wasn't for Dogfish Head starting that movement and pushing it. One of the first beers I remember ever seeking out, in fact, was Midas Touch, a heavily adjunct-laden beer. It's got grape must and saffron and honey and all kinds of spices and stuff in it. And I really sought that out because it was unique and different and style-bending. Awesome. So, next, what is your best beer memory, DJ? I would say my best beer memory would be when I was in China, back studying at university, when I was going to Beida, which is Beijing University, and also studying at Beijing Yuan, which is their language and culture university. And I went to the Great Wall with a bunch of my friends on my dorm room floor. We climbed to the highest point that we could get to on that wall, which, if you don't know, one of the highest rates of death in China is people climbing the Great Wall because they get heart attacks. Why? Because the steps are really, really steep. Ancients were not caring about making a nice, easy incline upstairs. Their stairs were pretty much like ladders. So, climbing up there, man, we got to the top, we grounded out, and on the top, one of my buddies who was from Oregon, he knew a little something about better than shitty beer, because, you know, Rogue and stuff was around back in those days, and he brought Guinness up to the top of the Great Wall. We all cracked a Guinness and cheers and had a Guinness on the top of the Great Wall. I got a picture of me with a can of Guinness, got a freaking bandana on my head, even though I had hair back in those days. Believe that. Anywho, but man, that is an awesome freaking beer memory. And that was how about having fun with beer, which in my opinion is what this whole craft beer thing is all about. Ever since I watched my first beer video or beer review video, which was Peter, the Master of Hoppits, reviewing, I think with the with Jakob, the Lord of Malt. No, he was solo. Nog Neu's Dark Horizon. I think it was DH2. I have been into having fun with beer. I said, man, that's cool. Let's dive into it and have a great time. So, with having a great time, let's call out our people now. If I'm calling you out, you haven't been called out already that I can notice. So let's get to it. Answer some questions, ones that you have like I did, guys. Or if you want to answer Nitch's questions, go for it as well. First, I'm going to call out Kevin from Clements Homebrew. He reviews tons of beers. He also homebrews, and he's working on living the dream and starting his own brew pub out in Oregon. That fucking rocks. Next, I'm going to call out Rich from Rich's World Beer Tour. He doesn't review as much anymore, but I believe he works for a brewery or a brewery equipment company. He lives up in Minneapolis, St. Paul area, up in the Great White North, and he's a good buddy that I've done beer trades with. Actually, most of these people I've done trades with. Anyway, but Rich, question times, buddy. Next, as a guy from the UK, you guys may not have watched yet or know of. His name's Christian Brewbear. He also homebrews, and he reviews beers every week, bargain beers and different stuff. From the UK, he reviews a ton of homebrews, and he's a really cool dude. Next, Brews Under Review, my buddy Brad up in Canada, also a beer trader with him. We see a theme happening here. Anyways, Brad doesn't review as often these days, but he's done a ton of them, well over 500, and he knows his shit. He's a cool dude, much less animated than me. Maybe I can be like your upper, you watch a video of mine, then watch Brad's, you come down and get you a nice even keel. Anyways, Brad, if you watch this, please answer some questions. Next, and finally, we're going to do 2 local guys. I'm going to go with 6 instead of 5. Why not? I'm going to go with the Imbibe Hour because he's local around the D.C. area. He doesn't do as many reviews as he used to, but he does really good ones, and he goes boom, neck strength, lightning fucking flashes, and all that stuff. And also a new guy on the scene, also down the D.C. area, the Craft Beer Bandit. So there's my list. There's my questions. Take it for what you will. And if I got nothing else to say is have fun with beer. Do this as fun. And keep a smile on your face, because that's really what this shit is all about in the end. Having a good time and kicking it with your buddies. And yeah, that's it. Also, oh wait, and then maybe that's it. You gotta think locally, drink locally, and support the craft beer movement. Also, if you could rate, comment, subscribe, especially if it's your first time with us. And smash that like button, man, that would totally put my fucking happy face on. So to the next DJs BrewTube, I got nothing but a bunch of beer drinking love for you. And you know what's coming? Hell yes, a big ass, a pizza!